Hi, this is Michael Coe. I'm a Dallas elder and estate planning attorney, and I'm joined by my good friend Don Crawford Jr., who for many years we did a radio show together. I've always liked the camaraderie and the questions he's asked, so he's so graciously agreed to continue this on this YouTube podcast that we have from time to time. Don, today's topic is about what do you do with a missing person? How do you deal with their estate? You don't know if they're dead yet. How do
Right.
you deal with that?
It's tough.
And so, last year alone, I understand there was 500,000 people missing in the
God.
United States
Wow.
and have not been found. But it doesn't, but it's not until we get attention to bigger name people that we think about it.
Right.
So like on Nancy Guthrie, who's been missing now for a couple of months, or so, uh, that's the mother of a Good Morning America host, anchor, show Savannah Guthrie. Now all of a sudden it's national news. And then and they even had videos of some presumptive person who was a kidnapper. And this was very unusual too, because she was 80 something years old. And usually it's somebody that's young. It's usually somebody in their 20s or younger. And so this is a very unusual case. It's also unusual in the fact that there was a quote, originally a ransom. Usually the people are just missing, but there's no ransom. I guess you could think of, if I go back far enough, when the Lindbergh baby case was probably the most well-known situation where there was a ransom, and that's been probably 100 years ago. So it's been quite a long period of time. And locally, we had a missing person, a professor at law school. Remember that in last fall, uh, Professor something like that, Charles Hosh, something like that. I'll probably mispronounce his name. Maybe it's Hosh. Something was missing. You remember he was hiking in the Appalachians, and they still haven't found him.
I don't know that one.
You don't remember that? Okay,
No.
well, that was just like last November, somewhere around there, and there's been he's been missing ever since.
Right.
And, of course, if you usually the success of finding somebody is usually if you get them very early.
Right.
And after that, as time goes by, the likelihood of being found alive, I would say, quite diminishes quite a bit.
I remember watching the TV show 48 Hours, which implies that you've got about 48 hours. And then, as you said, the odds of finding that person drop significantly. And that's why they have a clock, and the announcer comes on and said, in the first 48 hours. So I get that. And it's been how long with Nancy? 3 weeks now?
Oh, I think it's probably been more than that. I think it's been a couple months. It seems like it's been early in February or something like that at the
Yeah.
time when we're
Oh,
doing this recording. It's been almost a couple months, I
okay.
would think.
Yeah.
And so it's been a long time. And originally I think that there was more hope because there was a ransom and they had those videos and they'd have this or that, say, oh, well, there was this can or this or there would be some sort of thing. But then it gets to be the question is, let's say I can't find her. It could take many years before we ever get to the end. But let's say, how do you settle her estate?
You're right.
How do
And
you
then
settle the
she
estate of a missing
passed
person?
away. How do you declare she's even passed away? Who does that? The insurance company? The judge? Who does that?
Right. How do you prove it? Now, how long does it take? And I'm going to answer my own questions, but how long does it take before somebody is presumed to be dead?
Right.
So there's actually laws on it.
Oh,
And there's the Social Security laws, and then we have our own laws in Texas. So the answer is 7 years. However, you could, if you have enough circumstantial evidence, you could have somebody presumed to be dead earlier. So,
okay.
what is enough presumption of circumstantial evidence so that you could probate a will or have laws of intestacy, or how long is that taken? How many steps do you have to take for that to be resolved? Well, first of all, how do you give, how do you prove, well, how do you even give notice? Remember, on lawsuits, you have to have a citation. How are you going to serve a dead person?
Yeah.
You can't. You could, well, you could have a publication, notice by publication, but you're probably also going to, the judge is also going to probably want some law enforcement, like police departments, or there also should be notice by to public welfare agencies. Um, there's a missing and unidentified persons online bureau of some sort or bulletin, I believe. And then sometimes the courts might have a private investigator. Remember, we talked about something similar. Remember, a few years ago there was the fires in Hawaii, and they couldn't find people for a long time. It's the
Right.
same idea.
Yeah.
And then what happens? How do you prove circumstantial evidence? What if somebody just had a plane crash?
Mhm.
Is that enough?
Right.
Well, you're going to have to do it. Not only you're going to have to see what all the facts are before you can get to legal conclusions. Um, was are scientists saying there's no way that anybody could be alive? But what if you don't find the body?
Right.
Uh, and so there's going to have to be circumstantial evidence that's sufficient. And even if you get, overcome that, it's likely that it'll take several years before a judge will say, okay, executor, you can now distribute the assets because we don't know. And what happens? Then the question becomes, what if you've already distributed the assets and now the person's found? Maybe remember what was that Tom Hanks movie with uh, where he had Wilson was his companion where he was on the FedEx plane.
Right.
Remember, I forgot the name of the movie, but
Right.
how he came back after who knows how long it was.
She got married and all that stuff.
Right,
Is
the girlfriend or whatever got married to somebody else, and he went and visited, and he was, you know, all alone on some desert island, and all of a sudden he came back. What happens if he had owned assets and he came back? Well, if there's any assets, what's the executor to do? Well, if they have any, or whoever got the money, they may have to pay it back. But what if they had real estate and the real estate was sold to a bona fide purchaser? Well, the estate would be entitled to the rents and the profits, but under our Texas law, you can't force the real estate to go back to what we thought was the deceased, the missing person. So there's special rules in our law that address the situation.
it's
So
almost like the mercy rule that we talk about in sports, where if it's 10-0, they call it a baseball or softball game. Or I've got an employee up in Rochester today who wrote and said that he has to go to a meeting tomorrow and he can't have our Zoom call because he has to talk to the retirement community about hospice that his father is in. And I would wonder if that applies to here too with Nancy Guthrie. Where do you draw the line ethically, morally, to say in the head, which of course is such a big part of it, they are now deceased, and implying that you've given up hope and looking for them? That's tough.
yeah, it is tough. It's never, we always, no matter how bad our situation is, I think we always have hope. We always hope for the best. And so that is a difficult thing. You notice that they originally they had some sort of reward, and then they increased it to like $1 million. They said, "Uh-oh, the stakes are higher now. There's more risks now. It's been past that 48 hours. Should we have done that sooner? But would that have made a difference? I don't know. I don't know. We never know. Uh, you like to play, Monday morning quarterback, particularly if you're with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
But
right.
I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. But I'm a Monday morning quarterback. What up? No, what are we doing? We're all in, I thought. Well, anyway, the bottom line is, what are you going to do? But the good news is that there are laws to say this is how you do it. And what we have to do Just like when we've talked about earlier, we did a show about probating a copy of a will. Well, there's laws on what you have to do when you have a copy of the will and what makes a will valid. This case, what happens if the person is missing? Everybody, each thing, uh, it's amazing how there's so many different laws to cover so many different situations, but sometimes these things happen.
Right. Understood. And it's sad that it's happened, and it's unthinkable that they don't even have a clue is the latest I think I've heard. They don't even know where to look next, and that's awful with technology the way it is. And I don't think you can scratch your nose these days without technology knowing that you did it and part of the trap and part of the videos and that kind of thing. But nevertheless, it is sad, and I feel badly for the family and the Guthries in general or specifically. And I guess there's nothing we can do other than hope, like you said.
Maybe this will bring more attention, for every, I guess, silver lining. I know this sounds terrible, but maybe it'll bring more attention to so many more missing people that we haven't um, found.
True.
Usually the younger people, a lot of times, unfortunately, it's children, a lot of times it's minorities, and particularly in the South. And maybe this will wake up America to remember it used to be that we had milk cartons with missing people's, on there. Maybe there'll be some renewed interest in missing people. So maybe it'll help somebody else in the future is the only thing. I can't think of too many good things that could happen from somebody missing, but maybe we can make things better
I
by
hope so.
learning from our
Heart in
mistakes.
the right place again, as always, and maybe it'll make a difference, like you said. But 500,000 people a year, I would have guessed 10,000, so I can't believe it's that many.
Well,
It,
maybe they weren't all missing this year, but there haven't been found
oh,
that
I
were
haven't
still
found
missing. Yeah.
still. That's a lot of people. I thought it was 1% of that, so it's a scary figure, and somebody's got to do something, and I'm glad you are.
Well, at least we know now. I don't know if I'm doing anything, but at least I'm just trying to educate people on what happens if there's these people who pass. What can we do with their estates and how long is it going to take?
You
So
just
there are
doing a
actual rules.
broadcast and exposing this in a different way, in my unique opinion, is I think very helpful and it give people a different perspective and think about their estates, hope and pray for the Guthries and go forward and be a little more careful.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be the moral of the story too, is how careful can you be? And I guess in this world, I don't know any place that's safe. I'm not really sure. Uh, I'm not sure where you go. I'm almost saying that any place you congregate or any place it could be in danger with the
Yeah,
world that we live in today.
it is
Um,
crazy
I
world,
guess
but
you can't be too safe.
no, you cannot. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Don. Any questions that you have on missing persons?
No questions. Just attend Michael's next workshop, which is every month on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. In North Dallas, 635 and 75 off of Forest exit. Michael, is that where it is?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. And you should attend that for free, which is great, and you'll learn a lot. And I'm sure the Nancy Guthrie doesn't apply to your situation directly, but maybe indirectly it has or it does, and it's triggered some thoughts that you might have. So sign up for the workshop. It's free, it's easy, there's no traffic. Michael does that intentionally, 10 o'clock on Saturdays, and you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, if you're interested in attending the next workshop, just call 214-720-0102. That's 214-720-0102, or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com. If you go to that, it's also um, you also get 1 hour free vision meeting with your own individual situation. Realize it's not going to be a missing person deal about your own estate planning or elder law needs, which a lot of times deal with public benefits. So we just ask people what they want to know, and I think you'll learn something if you go to the next free workshop.
Maybe someone will ask about that. You never know. Well, that'll never happen to me, and then it happens.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be awful? So you never know. We can never be too careful or safe.
yes. Well, thank you, Don. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Mike.
it.